This is the Freeheel Life Podcast, episode number 133. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And welcome back, my friends. Happy to be here today to talk Telemark and everything else under the sun, moon, and snowflakes, whatever it may be. We're going to hop into some newsroom and notes right off the bat, and I've got my good friend here, Taylor Johnson, to help me talk about news that we haven't discussed, but I'm looking at him as though we're going to talk about something.
Well, there's always something going on here. First piece of news that comes to my mind is batch 2 of the Protector skis is now live. We've had a couple of those out the door, or I guess to the production floor. This is a pre-order that we're working on building these skis this summer, but still a handful of skis left for grabs in batch 2, and we'd love to get all those sold so we can start working on batch 3, but we're working on them in batches of 25. This year it was a little bit easier to deal with the sort of production timelines of working on 25 pairs at a time. Other news, we've been I have been working hard trying to get some new merchandise going for all of you freeheelers out there that need a new hat or t-shirt to make sure everybody knows you tele in the summer. It's very important that everyone knows you tele. So
very crucial.
Keep an eye on the mailing list or social medias, or just spam refresh the website, whatever it may be, to see when that new stuff drops. So we've been working here. As always, if you've got any other questions, needs, comments, concerns about stuff going at the shop, we're here. Hit us up. We've got a little bit different schedule in the summer. The storefront is not open, but that does not mean we're not here shipping orders or hopping on the phone with people with random questions. Shop front, that's about it. Summertime is a little different than wintertime. It's probably almost opening days for some of those in the southern hemisphere, so I hope you're getting excited about the winter.
Resorts are open.
Summer might not be, the snow might not totally be gone if you're still skiing in the northern hemisphere. I actually did ski this past week.
How was it? I was going to ask you about this.
It was better than expected, but there was almost there have been so many people. It was up at Alta, and there were so many people up skiing around that there was almost a little mogul line. So smashed a couple June moguls on a resort that hasn't been open in 2 months. So that was cool.
Really? There was a mogul line still left?
Yeah, it was like a fresh mogul line, which actually skied better because that snow was white instead of dirty,
brown
and sticky. Yeah. Other news, I don't know. At some point, I'm working on a video edit that'll drop on our YouTube page from my trip to the Telemark Only festival in May. There's 80 gigabytes of video that I'm slowly sifting my way through, so if you're really excited for that vlog, I hope you are, but I'm working on it. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that for sure and get into that. That was a pretty good news report, dude. Well done.
Yeah, on the spot. You told me my mic was muted for the news.
I know, right? But I figure you're the news guy, so I was just like, well, I'll just throw them into it.
All right, that's fine.
Ski resorts open. I'm looking this up in Australia. False Creek is open. Mount Buller, Hotham, Perisher. Those are the ones I'm seeing right now. It looks like it's getting good too. I mean, as of the time of this recording, there's some fresh snowfall. It looks like, actually, I don't know if that's their base or snowfall. I probably should have pulled this up ahead of time, but it's good to know you guys are skiing down there. Probably need to check in with those Telly guys.
I saw on their Instagram that they were exploring around one of the first storms a week or two ago.
Was it a resort or was it?
They seem to just be driving around somewhere in the mountains, maybe near a resort or looking for some low angle backcountry turns. I don't know if they actually made any turns, but they were stoked to go touch some snow or drive through some snow, whatever they were doing.
Yeah, I was trying to look up New Zealand too. I think last week I said that one of the resorts down there was going to open. Well, I'll see if I can find a better way to kind of pull all these up, just so you guys know what's happening, and we are merely but one or two people here trying to pull.
Yeah.
I need the podcast guy that's got like the dude on the computer who's looking stuff up all the time. That would be helpful.
That's when this podcast is big.
That's when we know we've really made it.
Even though you said this was episode number 133.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good run. Like, I don't know.
Are you suggesting that the run's over?
No. I'm just saying, like, you've made a lot of headway, and I don't know how many episodes I've had the opportunity to hop on with you, but it's been a lot of fun where it's just every Monday morning I can refresh the podcast feed and listen to some Telemark related talk while, making coffee and eating breakfast or something.
I know. I like that. And it usually is in the morning. There's only been that one time where it didn't get up.
Yeah, it was like a 4 p.m. upload. It threw off my whole podcast schedule for the week.
There was I don't know what I was somewhere. I don't know what happened. I think I forgot to like automate it or something, and we ended up with sort of a late release.
It was still on a Monday, but it's like whatever that 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. upload is. It's nice where it's just there right away.
Yeah, it's nice being in the morning. Okay, cool. Well, it's good to know. Yeah, it's crazy to think because it's literally so hot here, but I'm glad there's some skiing happening down south. I'd like to probably need to track down some folks. I'd love to have some guests on from Australia, New Zealand, South America. Actually, you just talked to some guys in Chile.
Yeah,
I probably need to connect with those folks too. I have not had anybody on from Chile yet. So we should, if you are a Telemark guru in your zone, or you know someone in the Southern Hemisphere, I'd love to.
What do they do? Do they send their resume to podcast@freeheellife.com, or how do you like vet people?
Have your agent reach out to me at podcast@freeheellife.com, and we can negotiate the terms of your podcast appearance. So, did that sound professional?
Yeah, real official.
Yeah.
Like, is there paperwork involved?
I should have like a submit button where you you go to a website.
Guest requests or something.
I've got a list. That's the hard thing too, is even having the email. I'm like, email me, everybody. And then it's hard to get back. I've got some fun people that have emailed in recently. Funny enough, I was going to mention this too, because if anybody listened to the Sun Valley Telly podcast, you and I were talking about that.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. I thought it was super interesting because I had no idea about any of that history stuff. I mean, I think I was as surprised as you were doing the interview as I was listening to it. I was like, wow, that's really cool that there's that much root. And yeah, it sounded like, the first couple iterations were like a lot less official of an event.
The two chicks and a dude or whatever. I don't even remember what.
But it's like, but I think that's still just cool that there's some little route that traces back to, when Miles and I went up, Miles and Aiden, our ski tech, headed up there in April. It was, I forget what they said. They maybe had 80 or 90 racers, and probably an additional 20 or so people that were just hanging out participating. So to see even a gathering of 100 plus people is really cool.
Yeah, no, I thought that podcast was pretty cool, and you just forward an email to me from this guy that listened to the podcast and said he was there in the early 70s, and we're going to get him in touch with the current Sun Valley guys. That podcast actually it's digging things up from other people, which is cool, because I got this email. Danny Walton, who we talked about on the email, he's going to come on the podcast, who was the previous dude running the event up there, and he's been on the list for a while. Anyways, yeah, there's a long list. I don't think I'm going to run out of people anytime soon. Honestly, I think the hard part is just scheduling enough time to do stuff. Because I was thinking another guy that reached out that I don't know was a doctor, and I don't even remember how. It's just interesting seeing, as we get into like over 100 episodes, people reaching out that are highly qualified in their field of expertise.
But, yeah, probably. And I mean, I think sometimes people think that this is nerve-wracking to hop on the podcast. And yeah, I mean, people are definitely listening to this, but we're just having a conversation here. So if you're like nervous about your podcast debut, you're just talking. You have a conversation with people.
I won't name which guest it was, but I was laughing because I got on this podcast the other day, and and it was the guy had never done a podcast before, but his girlfriend was basically like, "Why do they want you to come on this podcast? Like, you don't know what." Like you're not going to know what to talk about or something like making it kind of hard on the guy. And I was like, no, like you're totally qualified to talk about it.
I mean, an hour usually flies by pretty fast.
Yeah, it's not that hard. This other guy, I got to get back to him. Actually, I didn't realize you bumped into this dude, and this is kind of a good segue, but you bumped into this doctor at Telemark Only.
Yeah.
That's who, he did email me.
Okay, great, because I was hoping to get this on the podcast because he was a doctor, so he has some sort of qualification.
He is a UCLA trained rheumatologist. I can barely pronounce the word, which means I'm highly qualified to
but his point is,
guy.
As we're appraying there in Switzerland, he was making the argument that Telemark was safer on your knees, which has been a hotly debated topic where our opinion is kind of based in nothing but like
fact.
Anecdotal evidence. I don't know.
All fact.
I'm not a doctor.
That's funny because I was at the chiropractor yesterday, and my chiropractor is a Telemark skier as well, which is super funny because I don't know, somehow I don't even remember how I ended up there, and then he ended up being a Telemark skier that like had watched, some of the old movies and stuff like that. And we were joking about it because he's like, yeah, when you came in here in like 2018 for the first time, he's like, I just thought you were going to be like, like your back's just going to be all destroyed and stuff. And we were joking around. He's like, so you want me to do a commercial, right? And I was like, yeah, totally, dude. We'll get like a doctor, a chiropractor. We'll do all these like Freeheel Life commercials about how Telemark is the safest thing and the best for your body. And we'll be set to jet. So anyways, okay, back to Telemark Only. I wanted to talk to you about this. We didn't really do like a post-trip debrief. I thought that might be something good to at least, I mean, like you said, we could blow through an hour, but this is your third event that you've been to, third Telemark Only event. And for those of you that don't know, this is like one of the most unique events of all time, I would say, because it only allows Telemark skiers to go on the mountain. And so Paul Fluke, he's the event organizer, and we first met him, I think we went year number 2.
Yeah, I think it was number 2 was 2017.
Yep, and it's in outside of Mürren, Switzerland, on the Schiltorn, which is the ski resort. Schiltorn Pits Gloria, I want to say.
Yep.
Is that the full name?
Mm-hmm.
Cool place. The resort alone is super interesting because it was in a James Bond movie, so there's sort of this like interesting aspect to like there's a circular restaurant that like rotates while you're in it on top of this massive mountain. There's a James Bond museum in it. Like,
I mean, everything. It's like it was. I should remember the name of the title of the movie because I asked one of the employees there. It's something Her Majesty, Secret Service of Her Majesty, something like that. It's the one James Bond movie.
It's the one, and the guy was only
in the one. Yeah, I'm sure you can find it over there. But basically, they filmed this one James Bond movie there.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Okay, I was close. I remembered a few of the words. I didn't.
Well done.
They just ran with that as the marketing campaign for how many years? When was that movie released? 70s or 60s even?
Let's see. It was shot between 1968 and 1969. And see, this is good. See, I've got a computer. I'm going to like look stuff up.
Yeah. we got the power of the internet right here.
We're super pro. And I can't remember why, because it wasn't Sean Connery, and it wasn't. Man, I shouldn't even have said the first name because now I can't remember all the other dudes. Let's see when it came out. 1969.
Yeah, so they basically ran with this marketing campaign for 50 years, 53 years, and still going with it.
I mean, it's pretty cool, though. I mean, for anybody who hasn't watched James Bond movies with ski stuff, there's some cool scenes in there. I haven't seen them all.
I know there's a few, I forget which movie, there's a few continuity errors in one of the skiing scenes where it's like they go between shots of, they must have filmed the Bluebird Day after a storm and then like a Bluebird Day like 3 weeks earlier, because there's snow on the trees, and then there's no snow on the trees, and then there's snow on the trees and off the tree. Like it like goes back and forth, where if you're really paying attention, you realize they didn't film this whole ski run the same day.
Yeah, I don't even know how you'd film that back then. Can you imagine how big the camera gear was hauling that stuff around?
Yeah, big production. But yeah, anyway, this resort is like, I mean, it's only Telemark skiers there. I think the event is the week after the ski area closes. And when you're there in May, you're pretty much only on the upper mountain. You know, I think maybe on a real good snow year or something, you could, in theory, ski all the way down to Murin, the village down there. But the 3 times I've been there, it's cable car access up to mid-mountain where most of the skiing is, and then there's a cable car all the way up to the top where that rotating restaurant is that you can ski off of. But I think there were probably 450, something like between 400 and 500 Telemark skiers there on Saturday of the event. So it's kind of a 4 days of skiing event, which was the first time all winter that I skied 4 days in a row.
How'd that feel? Were you skied enough?
Pretty good. I skied enough this winter that I felt fine, but it's like funny when most of the winter I was skiing like Sunday, Monday, and then I would have like 5 days to recover, and then Sunday, Monday. So it was kind of like stayed fresh, ready to sort of get after it. And I think one of the most fun parts about that event is just like, you know, you look at the ski rack and it's almost like easy to lose your skis, because you're not just like looking at the ski rack for like that one pair of skis with outlaw bindings on them, or, you know, your binding of choice, but it's all of a sudden you have to actually look to see what pair of skis is yours, because every single pair of skis up there has tele bindings on them.
That's a lot of tele skiers too, if there's like hundreds.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you mentioned something to me that I thought was interesting too, is what gear were you mostly seeing? Like if you're looking at types of skis, brand of skis, or models, boots and bindings, because that's what always interests me. And you kind of brought it up too, just while you're on that subject of looking at a ski rack. You know, I think what's interesting is you get these very regional hot spots for stuff.
Yeah.
Here, like you were saying, like Outlaw 22 Designs kind of has like this stronghold, like especially you see everything racked up at a resort. That's a pretty strong presence, at least on the NTN side. Is 22 the strongest, you think, in that zone? Or
22's in the top 3?
Yeah.
Honestly,
there's only 3.
Debate between
I'm just kidding.
No, there was a pretty good mix. I would probably guess 80% of the skis were NTN.
Really, that many?
Maybe even more, honestly. It was like fully NTN'd up. A lot of free rides from Radafella and a lot of Medjos. So maybe just by default of international business and shipping and customs, it's easier to get.
Wasn't Pierre from there, or wasn't he there? Or was
M Equipment was there.
Yeah.
Pierre was not in attendance, but he sent his demo fleet with his M Equipment athlete Seb Meyer.
Oh yeah, the big gun.
Yeah, real.
That's going to be
skier.
what we call him.
The big gun.
The big gun.
Yeah, you should get Seb on the podcast.
I know.
too.
I need that whole crew of guys. We need to get on.
Yeah.
Seb.
No, there's a lot of cool guys over there, but
yeah, that's true. Good reminder. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the local shops there does distribution for 22 Designs in Switzerland. So there was a lot of 22 Designs in the demo gear, and a fair amount on skis, but like the amount of Rotafella bindings that were over there compared to what we see over here was like hilarious. Like,
yeah,
it's not that people don't have Rotafella bindings here, but it's like maybe, I don't know, 5 out of 100 Telemark skiers I might see at Alta, and 22 Designs is like 80 out of 100, maybe even that high, without having actually done the counting for those statistics I'm claiming.
The real question is, how many G3 targets did you see?
Like maybe 2.
Oh, you actually saw 1?
Yeah, there's still a pair or 2 kicking around, but no, not too many. There was only 2 pair of volet bindings.
Oh, and what are the 75s?
Yeah.
75 millimeter bindings? I was going to ask how many Tecto. Well, you already said Majo was there. TTS. Did you see a TTS ski or binding?
I noticed 1 pair of the Kreuzspitz TTS.
That's a rare sighting.
Yeah, maybe definitely rare here.
Yeah, you don't see that one
but,
very often.
1 out of 400 Telemark skis. That was not too hot. But ski models, there was a lot of on-piste skis. I think that might be sort of typical of Europe. If you've never skied in Europe before, not only is like the ski culture a little bit different, but just sort of like the mountains are different, the way ski patrol runs, the way avalanche safety is run, it's a lot different than the States. Whereas around here it's very normal for, like Alta, Colorado, probably, Tahoe, whatever, to, you might just like daily drive your 105 underfoot ski because you're going to spend some time on the groomers, but you're going to spend a lot of time sort of off-piste in just the ski area. But the sort of the way that you ski in Europe is the only thing that's like avalanche controlled is like the piste, like the groomers. So if you weren't planning on going off piste or essentially into the backcountry, even if it's literally like 5 feet off of a groomer, they treat it as backcountry. If that wasn't your objective that day and you were purely skiing groomers, like a lot of people opted for, 70, 80 underfoot, like carving skis, that have a short and snappy turn radius and flat, stiff tails. And
yeah, I always imagine like Kessleys.
There was Kessleys. I mean, Switzerland, there's a fair amount of Stokelys.
Oh, yeah, Stokely. I mean, that's Swiss.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting from the sort of ski and binding front where that equipment was just a little different. There's definitely a lot more crispy boots. I think those are just a lot more readily available in Europe. We don't really see too many here in the States. It's definitely a Scarpa dominated market, probably globally, but for sure in the States.
Did you the attendance, did you feel like it was mostly Swiss?
I mean, most, like, majority Swiss, but there was probably people from maybe 10 or 15 different countries, I would say. So it was like pretty good international presence. I'm sure when you ever do have Paul on the podcast to talk about his own event, he's he's got the numbers
He'll give the
and all the
demographics.
registrations and stuff, so he could kind of fill you in where people were from. But we skied with a father and daughter from Slovakia. That was kind of fun. They took like a 10-hour train ride, basically straight there. Other travel notes, like, I mean, we were in Switzerland for 2 weeks. We did basically a week in Mürren for the festival, and then a week of touristing after. It was so weird to get into a car when I finally came home, because not only had I not driven a car, but I hadn't even sat in a car for 2 weeks. Like that was just weird. You know, we flew Salt Lake to Paris to Zurich, took a train from, Zurich to Bern, changed trains in Bern, took a train to Interlaken, which is like the biggest town near Mürren. It's not really a big town, but biggest. And then a train to Steckelberg, and then a bus there, and a tram car up to Mürren, because Mürren is like on top of a cliff. It's like a car-free, isolated mountain town that you have to access by a tram, cable car, whatever word you want to call it. So that was like really interesting, where the kind of stereotype is like Swiss trains are like on time, and we found that to be pretty much the case, and it was super easy to get around that way.
Those Swiss people are way more organized than us, I think.
Yeah, they seem pretty dialed.
They're pretty squared away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that goes across the board too. French side. German
I don't know.
side.
Just even in in Europe, it's like public transit is actually like pretty user friendly. And
didn't you say it was like an app?
Yeah, the Swiss train system is called the SBB network. I don't know what SBB stands for, but anyway, they have an app that was incredibly easy to use, as far as you could enter your location, or you could let your phone tell the app where you're at, click in where you're going, and it would give you here's this train leaving in 10 minutes, this train leaving in 40 minutes, this train leaving in an hour and 20 minutes. This is the platform, this is the section or sector of the platform. If it was platform 5 and you got a second class ticket, that train car was going to be close to 5C. You could get on the train. It said you have 8 minutes to change trains from platform 5 to platform 4 at the next stop. One time we did have a train that had engine problems and had to stop early. Refresh the app, and it said, wait 5 minutes. You can catch this next train was going to end up in Italy and Milano. And then we hopped on the next train, made the adjustment. So as far as, if anyone's like interested in going to an event like that, or Telemark Only specifically, like
Taylor's available to be your guide.
I could try and shed some light on that, but it's really pretty easy as far as getting around. We didn't rent a car. Like, honestly, especially when we're in the bigger cities, like, I'm glad I didn't have to drive a car, just because like the European city driving is like, you got to be aggressive and know where you're going.
See, that's the problem, is we're kind of wusses, like, living here in Utah, dude. Think about it. Anybody that's from the East Coast, we're light here. We're like driving light.
Well, it's also like, I don't know, so much easier to get around here. Of like, it's sort of, I think the American way, at least in the West, is move the earth to put the road, whereas the Swiss idea is put the road where the earth lets you. Like, which is interesting. Of like, when we were checking out some of the cities, just being tourists after the event, it was obvious, like the roads and the buildings and everything was built sort of by path of least resistance. So, the roads followed the river or the roads followed the hills, and that's sort of the same with, it seemed like trains, roads, buildings. Whereas here it's like, well, we want these streets to be straight and in 90-degree square patterns, and if we have to move some dirt around, they did. Maybe that was also by default of they probably built some of these roads like 500 years before the United States was even a country. So
yeah, I was gonna say could be a time factor, but
yeah, I mean, if you just didn't have the resources to like move the earth in the same way, like you're not gonna. But it's also like some of those cities just have a very like pleasing aesthetic because it's kind of like everything blends to the surroundings of the geography.
I think Europe, in my opinion, has always done really well with. I sound really authoritative the way I'm talking about this. No, but what I enjoy when I go to Europe is I like old things. I think everybody knows that. I like things that are old and preserved, and European towns, generally speaking, like you said, they're kind of funky and cool and have like their own vibe to them, especially like little villages, and there's like all these little nooks and crannies, and I think here, like more and more our towns are starting to look, there's specific things that are cool and old, but we tend to like just tear stuff down, and you don't have as many old sections of the town as we once did. At least in Salt Lake, I think a lot of that's gone.
Yeah, but it's also just the old factor is a matter of perspective.
That's true.
Whatever, maybe, I mean, what's the oldest building in Salt Lake is at maximum like
1800s,
like less than 200 years, probably 150 years, something like that. Whereas, I mean, some of these old buildings, especially like old churches and stuff like that, it's like those have been there for 1,000 years or 500 years or 600 years. East Coast United States is way closer to Europe for sure. I think about actually. You haven't been to Massachusetts yet, have you? No.
Yeah. There's a town I always remember whenever I think about this. I always think about Mass. There's this one little town. I think it's called Marble. It's like it's crazy. I remember like getting on the streets, and it's literally like cobblestone streets that are like one car wide.
Yeah.
It's cool and awesome, but yeah, way older. So I mean, that's where the country started.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like part of going to an event like that is, for me it was a ski trip. Like we're bringing ski bags, but it was also like, well, we're, spending like a 20-hour travel day between airport to airport, like with plane changes and, 11 hours from Salt Lake to Paris and all that. It's like when you're making that much travel, it's like, if you can, it's nice to like tack on a few other things that are not, necessarily ski related, just because that travel's fun. I would.
Yeah. What are your, give me some hot tips.
Hot tip is any hotel or Airbnb that you book, if you're doing it the way I did it, where it was purely public transit, maximum 10-minute walk from the train station. Because you're dragging a 50, maybe 55 pound if you have a nice smile and don't get charged for an overweight bag.
Did you?
Well,
were you doing the classic? This is me at the airport. Is I show up, and the next thing I know, people are waiting behind me for like 15 minutes because it's like 10 pounds over, and the next thing I know, I'm unzipping my bag, and I'm pulling everything out, and I'm like throwing it in my carry-on, and then trying to strap it all together, and then until the attendant's like, all right, cool, we'll let it go. And then I proceed to like grab my bag, walk around the corner, and then I unzip it, and then I put everything back in. There's my hot tip. I don't think sometimes you can't do it because they take the bag though. That's the problem.
Yeah, but with a ski bag, usually you have to take it to like an oversized bag drop off, so they don't just take it right there.
That's
at the
window.
Counter.
That's the window I'm talking about, dude. Is you sort of go, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we got the weight correct, and then you sort of like scoot, and you just get behind one of those pillars.
Yeah,
unzip.
stuff everything back
Stuff
in
it back in there. Then you got your nice, carry-ons nice and clean and sharp.
Yeah, on the way to Switzerland, I think I was 50, like 2 point something pounds. So I was a little over, but they just let it slide. I think there's it's like 50 plus or minus, in the reality. The policy says 50 pounds exactly, but, and then coming home, we had a 7 a.m. flight leaving Zurich, and we were at the airport at 5 or 5:15. Thought that would be no problem. The line to get our bags checked was just stagnant. Sitting there waiting, looking at the clock, starting to realize that I don't think I've ever missed a flight, but this one might be the one we missed because I can't even get a bag checked. The attendant says, anyone flying to Amsterdam, which is where our connection was, like, raise your hand, I need to get you through. And the 20 people in front of us in the line all raised their hands, and everyone kind of had a laugh because it was like the whole line was like stressed because we all thought we were going to miss this flight. And then when we all realized there was like 25 passengers that couldn't even get their bag checked because of the because of the airline not being able to get people checked fast enough. It was like, oh, cool. They'll probably like actually hold this flight for us. But there was a few moments of sprinting through the airport at 7 a.m, which was, then you're a little sweaty for the 1.5-hour flight from Zurich to Amsterdam.
That's brutal.
But, yeah, try and book any accommodations if you're planning on like walking from a train station or a bus stop or something to as close as possible. I mean, not that you couldn't get an Uber or taxi or something like that, but I just felt like sort of being able to do it like on your schedule based off the trains of like, we're just going to get to the train, then we can go get checked in, then we can go do whatever. The closer you are to the train station, the better, because dragging around a 50-pound roller ski bag is just like annoying, especially after you've done all the skiing and you're just carrying around these skis because your skis are also in the bag that has the rest of your clothing and luggage and stuff.
Do you roll with so you got roller bag, ski roller bag, and then do you roll with a large roller bag and then a backpack?
No, I actually did it, and I think this is 2 weeks is about my limit of what I can pack in 50 pounds. I have a 40-liter Ortovox backpack that we sell in the shop, and
freeheellife.com.
And that, yeah, exactly, the hot root bag. It's actually a really, really good bag. If you're needing a new backcountry bag, hit us up in the fall. But so I just rolled ski roller bag and a backpack, which was definitely stuffed pretty good. But ski roller bag has skis, poles, knee pads, back protector, helmet, ski outerwear.
Single pair of skis.
One pair of skis, yeah.
Yep.
I opted for the Protector 105. I was like really hoping that bringing the wider ski.
You did that first year.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. And then, clothing and stuff. And then in my backpack was, in this case, I was going to shoot like a travel vlog and stuff. So I had camera gear, my laptop, a book, stuff like that in my backpack, and like one change of socks and underwear in case my ski bag was delayed for some reason. Like by the time you get off a 20-hour travel day, like if you do lose your ski bag, it's certainly nice to have a fresh pair of underwear. Just 20 hours in airports, so you want to take a shower and clean up. In my opinion, maybe there's some Telemark dirt bags out there.
I was just gonna say you're speaking to like one crowd, not the whole. You're eliminating. Like,
I guess
the whole...
you do you. That's my personal advice: is bring an extra pair of underwear in your backpack. But
are you going boots over the backpack?
And then boots strapped to the backpack. So the idea of, especially in that case of I'm going to a Telemark event, at least like if my stuff didn't show up, I could probably find somebody or a demo ski that's got a large NTN binding, and at least I have my boots. Not that I couldn't fit in a, demo boot or something if I had to, but boots are like probably, in my opinion, the most important part of equipment, because if your feet are happy, then I can sort of deal with whatever ski I'm on that day. But if my feet are hurting me,
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter if I'm even on my favorite ski. But
that brings up an interesting point, because I was thinking it's not, and I mean, this is worldwide, but this idea that you can take your boots with you and sort of, a telemark event's great because you know that there's probably going to be an extra pair of skis. And in this case, 80% NTN is probably a good reason to have an NTN boot. But just so people know, it's not easy to rent gear. So it's tricky. So if you're just rolling solo, not to an event, there's places. There's places,
but that could be tough. I mean, like in this case in particular, or like if you were trying to replicate my trip, that's sort of how I did it. I mean, conveniently, we had no problems. Ski bags, showed up, made the connection in Paris, and we got them. I honestly wouldn't really care if my ski bag got like sort of missed a flight coming home, because then that happened to me once coming home from a trip, and it was the last connection from LA to Salt Lake. My ski bag didn't get on.
So they just delivered it to your house?
And they just delivered it to my house, which was sweet, because then I had an extra, I didn't have to drag it from the carousel to the car of whoever was picking me up.
I was going to say, do you feel confident? One thing I'd say people should practice, if you haven't traveled with the roller bag, there's a lot of technique from the handle. I'm talking about, like getting on a train, for instance.
Yep.
You got to go vertical. You know what I'm talking about? There's sort of like this yanking.
Yeah, you kind of got to pull it up. The bag I have has got a lot of extra,
it's like a kettlebell exercise,
like handles and stuff like that, so you can kind of manhandle it around if you need. But yeah, getting onto trains, and then you got to find a place to stuff the bag on the train. And some of the train cars have luggage cabins. And if you are ever in Switzerland traveling with a ski bag, look for the trains that have either logos for bicycles or strollers on them, because
do they have that little like compartment thing?
They have like 2 rows of the seats fold up to become extra baggage storage, so you can kind of toss your bag in there. So that took us like 2 train changes to figure out, we need to find these cars, because it's just easier to ditch this big long heavy bag.
I think you're smart too, because I'm realizing that a lot of times I've rolled with that extra roller bag, which I don't know, like if I'm some prima donna and I just pack like too much crap, but I've usually got like the laptop carry-on, and then I've got a roller bag and a roller bag, and so I'm double armed. Yeah, that's brutal, and that's what I'm talking about.
My move was like, you're like, your one arm starts to get kind of tired just because you're, the roller bag is way easier than just actually carrying a 50-pound bag. But like at some point you're walking through this big long airport, or walking 10 minutes to find the Airbnb you booked, and it's like you got to do this like little like sort of 360 move where you pass it off behind your back, and you can spin around and switch arms.
We should do a video on all the moves with a roller bag.
I mean, I don't know.
There's get on a train.
There's a few trips or a few tips and tricks for trips like that, and I'm not the most traveled skier in the world, but I've done enough, travel with ski bags to sort of know those tips and tricks. And so, that was how I packed. Like, yeah, certainly if you have, more stuff or a longer trip, maybe I need to readjust. But for me personally, that like 2-week sweet spot is 50 pounds in the ski bag, and then a lot of other crap in my, I don't know how, I guess with my boots and everything, my backpack was probably 35 pounds, 40 pounds maybe. So there was a lot of weight. But the nice thing about having that ski backcountry bag is not only does it have like, good hip strap and chest strap where you can kind of distribute that weight a little bit, but then when you do get to the ski area, then I just flip everything, where all the beacon shovel probe goes, from the roller bag to on my body or in the backpack, and then I can have my ski bag with me, so it kind of serves as a dual purpose of travel bag when I'm just touristing in a city, or travel bag through airports, and then it's, my backcountry bag, so I can have everything I need for if we are going, backcountry skiing, or, in my case, I'm usually just dragging around camera gear too, so it's nice to have that in the backpack where it can kind of double up as that. Yeah.
How'd the language go? If for someone who hasn't traveled, a well-traveled person probably just, they get it. But if you've never been to Europe, like you're going to go to Telemark Only next year, for instance, was there any language difficulty in terms of like signage or communicating? I've obviously been to Switzerland too, but I'm curious here.
In my opinion, no. Like, unfortunately, a lot of people's English is so good that I don't really have an opportunity to even learn another language.
Oh, come on.
Like, or
did
not
you take
a forced opportunity.
Did you take a German dictionary?
No, I have a phone that has Translate on it and everything, but I think it's very nice if you make an attempt. Like, the few moments I did try to say anything in, Switzerland's kind of a funny country too, because there's 4 official languages.
I'm impressed you got the 4th. Well done.
Well, I know there's a 4th. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't remember what it is. I think
it's Romansh.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I'll look it up.
So Swiss German, French, a little bit of Italian, and then maybe Romansh. Josh has got the Google machine cooking up over there.
I can't believe I remembered that.
But so
Romansh.
Most of the time we spent in the country was in the German speaking side, but there were a few moments where it was funny, like ordered a coffee and the person working at the coffee shop starts talking to me in German, and then when eventually they realized immediately we're Americans and they also speak good English, they just switched to English, and that was probably easier for both parties. But then they said thank you in French, like merci, and that was really confusing because I was like, wait, you started talking to me in German and then we talked in English and then you said thank you in French. I'm like, props to you for,
that's why I said these people are way more squared away. They've got multiple languages.
Yeah. I would say sometimes in the more off, if you do get to a more off the sort of tourist path, off the beaten path in that sense, there can be a little bit more of a language barrier, but I'm always thoroughly impressed with anyone's ability to speak any second language, but the fact that from a language standpoint, it's if you go to buy a train ticket, there's a button that lets you select English, German, Italian, probably French. There's pretty much always 3 or 4 languages on a kiosk to buy a train ticket. One of the things that I did do is on our Google Translate app, you can download a language. If you don't want to pay for an international data plan where you're hooked up to that, and if you're trying to link Wi-Fi spot to Wi-Fi spot or something, you can download that. I think it's through the just Google Translate app, but they have this thing with the camera where if you point your camera at a sign or a menu, it just auto translates it.
That thing is creepy, dude.
Yeah, it's it's really creepy. Really useful. In a few times we needed to read a menu or something like that, we could use that. But the language barrier wasn't too hard, but I think most people, especially I would say French people, really like it when you make an attempt. If you kind of give them, maybe anybody.
No, I would agree.
But if you kind of give them oh, I'm an American, you probably speak English, I'm just going to start speaking English to you. That's just rude in my opinion. And I think that comes off as sort of rude. I'm the one traveling in your country. Even if I only know hi, my German sucks. Can we speak English?
Can you say that in German?
No, but if if that's all you know, or one beer please, or where's the toilet, whatever those are, like I'm sure a native speaker of any of those languages like can recognize immediately I'm pronouncing things so poorly that they know I'm American, and they'll probably just respond to me in English. But I think they do appreciate that, of just like, that sort of attitude of like, I'm a tourist, I'm in your country, you speak this language, like let me at least, try some effort of that.
Yeah, it's worth the effort for sure. Do you remember anything in German? This was sort of a
Prost.
Yes. So that's your cheers.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't. Man, you got really excited when you said that. I wasn't expecting.
Well, that's the first thing that came to my mind. But
all the non-drinkers are going to be like, dude, come on, dude. Just Prost.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Yeah. What's your language hot tip before we move on from language?
Study more than I did. I was maybe a little lazy on brushing up on the Swiss German, but
yeah, that's tricky. That's German's not an easy language, nor is French. Even that's another tough.
I don't know. The funny thing that just German sounds so aggressive to me.
Really?
Just like the way that
think about how they build their cars. You're an Audi guy, dude.
I know, but it's just like the language just like seems like aggressive. Like they might be saying like,
I love you.
Yeah, and it just like it sounds aggressive to me. But
sorry, German speakers.
Let's see. Any other travel hot tips? If you're a vegan,
that
honestly
interesting.
You're gonna be eating bread in Switzerland, maybe, but that has butter in it probably. So I don't know what you're gonna be eating. Like
that's a tricky.
We ate so much meat and cheese and. Like that's breakfast. Like Swiss breakfast is, like sliced sausages and cheese.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I have forgotten about that. I always think about that when I'm traveling, but yeah, dietary restrictions either by choice or by medical condition, it's tricky. Like because there is a lot of meat and a lot of dairy, and
I mean, it's not like there's not a grocery store there where you could go buy whatever you wanted, but when we were at the festival and staying at the Hotel Bellevue, which the owner is a Telemark skier, the like owner and the GM of the resort is a Telemark skier.
Is that the same place we stayed that first year, or is
that that was the Alpenru the first time. But there's there's maybe 10 hotels up there, and a few other like personal houses. It's a really, really pretty small village up there. But, I mean, the sort of breakfast at the hotel was, like meat and cheese and like yogurt, and they love their cows. Like the cows give them the cheese, I guess. So, that is a factor. Like, personally, I guess I'm either by choice or lucky enough to not have any like medical reasons to restrict my diet, so like that, or allergies or anything like that. I'm easy when I do travel. I'm not super worried about that, and I'm down to try the sort of local cuisine. But if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, like that might be a little bit tough.
All you hippies are going to be having to use that 50-pound weight limit to take all your stuff over there.
Yeah, might. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else on that front.
I know. I was trying to rack. It's been a few years since I've been over there.
But I mean, the point of that is like a trip like that is definitely an adventure. Especially if you haven't been before. I had been there. That was my third time going, but it was still just as exciting as, the first time. It was exciting in a different way, maybe because I like had almost some expectations. But we were able to sort of do some new things and meet some old faces that, have attended more of those events in the past or maybe even met them, cross paths, some social media, something like that. Like, it's cool to meet people that you might be chatting back and forth with in, you know, a Telemark forum, or, you know, they follow you on Instagram or something, and you kind of know who they are. So it's fun to hang out with those people, but it's fun to meet new people, and, you know, that common thread of you're a Telemark skier, I'm a Telemark skier. That's enough to start any conversation. You know, some of the people that you talk to, it's like you might have like nothing else in common with them. Like, you might have a, you know, totally different way of life, but there's that one thread of tele, and there's something you can relate to. And then, you know, the next thing you know, you're talking to some guy about snowplows for like, you know, 30 minutes because he's a snowplow driver, and he's
I thought you were talking like the ski technique.
No. Like,
I was
actually
like,
driving snowplows, and it's like, oh, I never really thought that was as interesting as you think it is. But I'm stoked that you're super pumped on snowplows.
Was that a really serious conversation?
Yeah.
30 minutes?
Probably.
Telemark skier, snowplow driver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to talk to that guy.
So I don't know. It's just kind of random on that front. You know, the skiing, like, in Europe is, to be honest, like, probably hit or miss, because especially that late in the year when you're on the upper mountain, you're above tree line, you're in, you know, the high alpine environment, which means if weather rolls in, you potentially can't see anything. We had 4 ski days at Schiltorn, and then we snuck one kind of surprise ski day in Zermatt, which is maybe 3-hour train ride away. So we had 5 ski days total. 3.5 of them were in the clouds. The snow was like actually kind of good. There was like just enough visibility to make it skiable, but unfortunately we couldn't really just like stare at all these epic mountains that are just across the valley. Like, the Latterbrunnen Valley is kind of the zone that this area is at, and the valley floor is probably, you know, 3,000 feet above sea level, and right across the valley from the Schiltorn is the Eiger, the Monk, and the Jungfrau that are like, you know, they're 4,000 meter peaks. So you basically are looking at like 10,000 feet of vertical mountain, and that's like just kind of mind-blowing, because you can see to the valley floor, and then you can see to the peak, and it's like probably only like, you know, 500 yards across wide valley. Like, it's not that far away, and it's just like this vertical wall of 10,000 feet of mountains, which is, you know, epic. So yeah, unfortunately we didn't get to stare at those the whole time, but just kind of the views aspect. But the weather did not like deter anyone from having a good time. You know, it deterred us from like skiing the snow off piste, and, you know, I was fully intentioned on skiing fast off piste and jumping cliffs and stuff, and the mountains just didn't give me that opportunity this trip. So when I do get the vlog cooked up, it'll be a lot of like low light slushy groomer cruising, which was plenty of fun, but not like the extreme skiing that I was hoping to do. Part of this festival is you can basically buy a package for, you know, 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. You can buy lunches with the package, so that, you know, there's a lunch at the mid-mountain station. There's festival dinners at, you know, either hotel restaurants, or one night we did have dinner up at the rotating 360-degree restaurant at the very top of the mountain. So Paul makes it pretty easy, where it's just like, you know, this is where we are. Like, here's a few tips on the travel. When you're here, this is what you pay. And, you know, the hotel you're staying at has a breakfast. There's a festival lunch. There's a festival dinner. That's super easy to keep going, where it's just like, I show up, this is my package. Here it is. I know where to go. I know when to be. There's a couple kind of local Telemark skiers that play in some bands. So there's, always some music going at the après skis, and the local brewery, the Rugenbrau Brewery, they obviously have some sort of sponsorship affiliation with the event, because there's plenty of Rugenbrau if you're trying to have a local beer.
Prost.
But yeah, that was really, really fun to get out there again. And that was the first time I had traveled in basically 3 years, because I was there in 2019, and then for obvious reasons the international travel was sort of like off the table for about 2 years. And that was super fun to get out and scratch that travel bug again, and just go and see some big mountains and see some new places. It was really fun, actually, after the event, when we were just kind of touristing around, that we stopped in Zermatt. We had a really good, perfect spring, bluebird groomer day, and it was like a random Wednesday in May, and there was probably 6 other skiers on the mountain, and there was actually one other Telemark skier. Handed him a sticker I had in my pocket. He was on some
move.
Yeah, I think he was on the Swiss race team. I don't know. Never caught his name. He was more interested in skiing than chatting with me.
He's like, cool, dude. See ya.
Yeah, he was on his Rosignol Hero GS skis and just digging trenches, carving turns. But
was it
we're skiing right there next to the Matterhorn. Zermatt is definitely a little more touristy, but there weren't that many people walking around with skis, so there was kind of a moment of ego boosting when we're walking through Zermatt carrying skis over our shoulder, and people are taking pictures of us.
Oh yeah, didn't you say someone wanted a picture of you, but didn't even know you, but they just wanted a picture with a skier? Was that?
Yeah, that was at Murin at the festival.
Yeah.
We were walking back to the hotel after skiing that day, and these 2 guys are taking pictures kind of on this little bench, and they were taking pictures of each other on this bench, and then they sort of handed us the phone, and I thought it was to take a picture of them together on the bench, and then the next thing I know, we're standing there with our skis. They take a picture with one guy with us, and then they flip, and the other guy with us, and that was just kind of funny of we're these crazy big mountain skiers, getting photos with random tourists.
That's hilarious. Did you tell them your Instagram handle?
I did not. There was definitely a language barrier there, but
you didn't pull
give me the tag, bro.
You're at Tay HERE. See you later. Well, cool, man. That was a fun little debrief. I hope people's interest is piqued. I know we're going to have Paul on the show, but that event's so cool, and it's cool people are able to start traveling, and I think it's cool that you've been there 3 times, because I feel like you've really started to figure out, hey, here's where to go. You kind of know the route, things to see, adding in Zermatt. It's a cool trip. Switzerland's a cool country too, and there's a really cool tele scene there for those of you that have not been to Europe. And
yeah, there's definitely a good tele scene. People are stoked on it. It's a cool trip. It's always fun to travel. Switzerland's a beautiful country. It was pretty easy to navigate around. I think, partly because I've been there a couple times, but partly because the public transit is really easy and totally makes sense. So yeah, that was fun. Hopefully, I wasn't really intending on sharing a bunch of travel tips, but that's how sometimes they go. We just start chatting.
That's why I never tell you what we're doing.
We never have a objective. So hopefully there's a few travel tips in there, or, inspiration to attend a Telemark event like that. And yeah, always good to just, chat Telemark related things and adventure related things. If you're still listening at this point, freeheellife.com, we got batch 2 of the protectors ready to roll. So those are live on the site right now. Please, if you have any questions about the ski, if you're on the fence, give us a call, shoot us an email. Miles and I are here, most weekdays, and we love talking about those skis. And, to the best of our ability, I want to talk through that ski and make sure that the protector is the right fit for you, which length, which model, 95, 105, if you're curious to what does it compare to other skis, Miles and I have had enough experience either skiing on a bunch of stuff or seeing stuff come through the shop that if you tell me, I'm skiing on XYZ, I really like this, how does this compare to the protector? That can be a good way to fill that in. Anything else random in the shop, hard good wise, is probably on sale. So yeah, it's 90 degrees outside and you might not be thinking about snowing, but there's plenty of good deals to be found. I got a couple pair of demo skis left over. If you want to work us a deal, hit us up. They're all like 170-ish centimeters with small NTN bindings on them. So maybe a little bit limited of if that ski is the right fit for you, but none of that stuff does us any good sitting around all summer. So I'd love to make you a deal and get that stuff out of our door and get you on a new to use setup. And as I mentioned in the newsroom and notes, I apologize. I was a little behind the ball on the lifestyle hats and apparel and t-shirts and stuff, but it is very important that everyone knows you tele in the off season. So keep an eye on the mailing list, social media, website, etc. for new hats and t-shirts. Getting a couple of classics restocked, and then we got some new stuff in the works. So if you're looking for a way to support us, even a $30 hat or t-shirt like goes a long way to us, and it all matters whether it's $1,000 pair of skis or a $25 hat. Like your support means a lot to us. So keep us in mind this summer. The winter always comes around faster than we think. I think the first part of the summer we're as skiers a little bit, maybe reminiscing about the winter, and it seems like the next winter is so far away, but the summer goes fast. And October, when we get the shop up and running for normal business hours, will come faster than you think. So on that note, follow Tay HERE on Instagram, and I'll see you next time.
I was waiting for the segue, dude. Awesome. Thanks, Tay. That's good stuff. Like you said, sign up for the mailing list. Follow Tay HERE at Tay HERE across all platforms. And he's going to be getting that vlog put up here sometime in the future. And we're going to get Paul, the organizer from Telemark Only. This was a fun conversation. We haven't really hit on travel tips. I know there's no visual aspect to this, but maybe that's a future inspiration for our YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe over there as well. You can check out everything Tay's talking about at freeheellife.com. You can email me at podcast@freeheellife.com. Please, telemark doctors, chiropractors, snowplow drivers, whatever you do, hit me up. I'm always looking for people to put on this long list of fine telemark specimens around the world. And this was a fun conversation. Looking forward to another week, and I hope you're all doing well out there. Merci, danke, grazie mille. Until next week, spread telemark always. See you later.